Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
Post and pray is certainly the most widely used method for hiring today. It yields mediocre results, and yet it is the go-to method for most companies, especially startups. Look, dating apps have evolved, so let's take a page from them and figure out some creative ways to attract talent. After all, your company's success or failure hinges on it. Today's quote, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. And that's our friend Aristotle. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to provide proven tactical solutions to solve your company's toughest hiring challenges. We share insights from top-performing entrepreneurs and industry experts like our guest today. We have Chris Russell, who's the managing director of RecTech Media. Chris is a digital recruiting expert. He began his career as a job board owner, where he first learned the craft of attracting talent online. He's also a former corporate recruiter with real-world experience in recruitment process and technology implementation. As a recruiting technology marketing consultant, he advises both employers and vendors on how to attract candidates to our clients. And he frequently blogs on the news site recruitingheadlines.com. He hosts a podcast called RecTech and conducts live video training on recruitment marketing tools and tactics at rectechlive.com, which makes Chris the perfect expert on today's subject. Chris, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Hey, Rick. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So today we're going to cover a few things. I'm battling a little bit of a flu bug that I had over last week. And so if you hear me get really quiet, Chris, you're going to have to carry me a little bit. So we're going to talk about why you should look at approaching your job postings differently. And so it's about job postings primarily today, and the best ways to market your opportunities and tools available to help you automate the process. How's that sound today, Chris?
Sounds good. Let's go higher.
All right, let's do it. All right, so let's talk about the approach most companies take. I see the approach being people write kind of wish list or job descriptions, they post it on job boards, and then they farm the job boards, see whatever they get. Would you agree with that, or do you see anything differently?
No, that's how it works. Kind of a tried and true tradition in hiring, and that's why the job board exists. I think that if you're a small company, it's something you have to do because you don't have the resources to necessarily go out there and source candidates proactively on your own, which is how the big companies do it, Rick.
But that should be something that should be prioritized as a small company. I mean, if you're a business leader, your life depends on it. Sometimes should be made for that. That's kind of the way I feel about it, at least. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Ideally, if you can go out there and find the talent on your own and do some proactive searching, that is the best way to basically go out and find the best person for the job traditionally. My point was that that many companies don't have that resource, don't have that time resource. It's just one person showing, a bunch of recs, and they're just, pulling their hair out because they're stretched so thin that they then rely on the job boards to kind of bring in candidates on their own. So it's kind of it's a catch-22. You have to have the time in order to do the proactive sourcing if you're going to do that. So.
I would argue, though, that using a job board and getting a lot of candidates doesn't necessarily save you time.
No, it can. You can be buried in mountains of resumes. I think that's a little less of an issue these days because the market's so tight. Companies can't find enough talent. So, in that respect, you have to basically go out there and market your jobs as much as possible. You do it, on your own. And a lot of these companies they just send you the resumes and they do kind of the marketing aspect of that. So, I think for many of those small companies, like I said, it's definitely something. It's part of their overall routine, and it's hard to get around overall because of the time limits that they have.
Well, let's talk about the marketing piece that you just brought up, because a job description is, in fact, a marketing document, correct?
Yes.
So the idea of a job description has got to be something that's going to attract the right person to your company, which I don't see most of them doing that. But you've got some pretty interesting ideas on how to best format job description, correct?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, if you write your own job descriptions today, think about maybe outsourcing that a little bit. One quick tip I would have, go onto a Fiverr.com, for example, And there's plenty of writers on there, creative writers, who will take your kind of boring, bland copy and turn that around into something actually that I want to read overall. For like, $80, you can probably get something done pretty quickly using a service like that overall. But think about getting creative with your job listings a little bit. Video or images at the top of them are always a good thing to do, Rick. If you want to appeal that next generation, it's a visual web these days. So having a video of your company or an image up there at least will kind of help grab their attention as they're scanning on their phone or wherever they're looking at your posting overall. And shorter is better, right? According to LinkedIn, great stat they just published recently on their talent blog. Job descriptions that are 300 words or less gets 8.4% more applies. And I think that speaks to the fact that nobody wants to read on the web these days.
I think that's because nobody wants to read your terrible job description. They just, hey, if I have to see another job description that says I need 4 years of this and 5 years of that, I'm going to jump off a bridge.
It says here most spend just 14 seconds deciding whether or not to apply. So if you think about that, the resume aspect, I think the stat is like 6 or 7 seconds looking at a resume as a customer perspective. Well, there's a similar thing on the candidate side where they're going to spend, according to LinkedIn here, 14 seconds looking at your ad, deciding whether or not to apply. So you got to grab their attention right away, right?
So it should be written more as a marketing document than an actual job description.
Absolutely. I think don't put out a full job description, put out what's called a job ad, right? To separate the two. Extract the important pieces of the job description and then sell it to the candidate in a job ad that's much shorter, that's more visual, that really appeals to what the core of the job itself and your mission overall as a company overall. So that would be a better way to look at things. So separate the job description from the job ad itself and just post the job ad.
So that 300-word ad, what does that contain?
If you look at example, like I just did a quick video about a company called CyberSN. They're a cybersecurity staffing firm, and they have what I call lean job descriptions. I think they're a good example of this. And on their site, you can go to cybersn.com, I think it is. On their site, they have their jobs, and they have basically broken each job down to, let's say, 5 to 7 bullet points. And those bullet points come in the form of percentages. So it's like 80% you'll be doing this, and there's a sentence or two that describes that. And it breaks down the percentages from top to bottom. And at the bottom of that, it just says, here's the tools you'll be working with in terms of the technology and the software that you're going to be using. And that's it.
So it breaks it down in percentage of time of what tasks you'll be doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, your responsibilities. Yep.
That's perfect.
And yeah, some have like maybe 4 on there. Some have about maybe 8, I think, at the most. But it's a very compact job listing, and it's easily scannable. If you're looking at it on your phone, you can really just simply, in a few seconds, grasp what the job entails. And that's really what you want to get to, especially online when they're reading it overall.
So I add on to that a little bit. I think that's perfect that you actually have it broken down, because that does give somebody an idea of what the work is going to be done, right? And most job descriptions don't even tell you what you're going to be working on. They just have a wish list of skills. That drives me nuts. I think it's silly that you just I think it's silly that you don't take the time to write a job description. A lot of people just copy and paste an old job description, and
that's there we go. Mistake, yeah.
That's a huge mistake. The other thing that I would encourage people to do is bench out, if you're going to take it that far, and now put performance metrics into the job description. If you want to attract people that are passive, tell them exactly what your expectations are going to be in the first 90 days. And you could probably do that and maybe adding a couple hundred more words, but still, I would imagine that would be the most effective. Now, did they break it down on the 300 short words? Those are passive and active job seekers, or just replies? They're not really able to differentiate between the two.
I think they're just tracking total applies overall.
Okay.
To go a little bit further on those stats there, I'm looking at the chart now. The medium job posts are the worst. Those are the ones that are 300 to 600 words. And then the ones that are over 600 words actually are 1% more apply. So the longer ones aren't that bad overall.
So if it's a longer job description, it gets more response?
It gets 1% more than the average. Not a lot, but
okay.
I think
what's the average?
The medium ones are minus 3.4%. Less applies.
Minus 3.4%.
Yep. So go short or go long, I guess is part of the messaging there. if you're going to do that. Now, if you're going to go long, you got to make it interesting. It can't just be that cut and paste version of the job description. I think if you're going to go long, you should put in stuff in there about your employer value proposition, what makes you different, why you should come work there. More about the company itself as well is important to add to a job listing, I think, like that. When it comes to that, you'll see a lot of those on like the ATSs out there, the company career sites, things like that.
It's funny, the ones we tend to work on tend to be longer. And we usually open up with trying to open up some sort of career wound in the person that we're trying to attract. And then we build a value proposition in and around those pain points, whatever they might be.
Yeah, I'm not dismissing long posts. I think there's actually a good use of those. I think there's a guy named Harry Joyner who is the e-commerce recruiter. He runs ecommercejobs.com, replaces people in that industry. He does really, really long intake meetings with his clients, and he really writes a book on the job. And that actually helps to sell the job itself, I think. He swears by it overall. So there is a case to be made for the long ones if you kind of go deep, right? And you dive deep to that listing and you uncover things that aren't typically found in a typical job description out there online.
All right. So we're talking really short or really long. In the middle is a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. So you're either going to be top of the class or bottom of the class. Either way, you're gonna get some attention, right?
Yes, totally.
If you're just joining us right now on the live stream of the podcast, you're listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and today our guest is Chris Russell. He's the managing director of RecTech Media. So we're talking about job descriptions right now, and we're going to kind of lead into tools to use and the best ways to post to get most exposure. I know you're really good at this, Chris, so I'm excited to delve into this. So let's talk a little bit about some of the tools that are available. I'm a busy entrepreneur, and I don't really have time to manage a lot of things, but I'd like to automate some of the process. What would be the best way for me to kind of still get some good people and yet get my message out there and not have to spend a whole lot of time doing that?
I think when it comes to promoting your jobs online, particularly on places like social media, Rick, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you can definitely automate some of this stuff through tools like Buffer or Deliverr, for example. You can actually take one post and push out to every channel that you're on automatically. That's a big time saver overall.
Do you use Buffer?
I use Deliverr overall, but I have used a Buffer in the past.
Okay, we use one that's kind of similar to that. It's called Smarter Queue, which is actually pretty solid.
Smarter Queue.
Yeah, lets you set up a calendar. The nice part about it is you set it up, you put it in once, and then you have a calendar where it will keep posting things out. So you can automate that completely.
Yeah, you can schedule things. You can deliver something called EverQueue, where it will take that same post and kind of repeat it at a certain cadence over time. It does things like automatic hashtagging of your posts that make them more visible on social media overall.
So what if I want to bring some attention to my post, though? I want somebody to see it other than just being a job description.
So whenever I post a job on social media for some of my clients, what I'll do is I'll make it into a visual job ad, essentially. And there's a number of tools in the app stores that you can get that really will bring these jobs to life and kind of animate them a bit. First tool I'll mention is Ripple. It's RIPL, Ripple.com. And it creates little social media video slideshows. And you basically upload up to 12 images. And you go in there and you put certain text on each of those images. You can create a little, hey, we're hiring now. Here's the job title. Here's how to apply. And take them through that and add music to it. And it creates about a 25 to 30 second little video that is perfect for places like Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn, Instagram.
And that's going to be far more powerful than your crappy job description.
Totally. You can link to, you put the link in there to the listing itself. That will drive the traffic into the actual, wherever that job is, wherever you want to link it to. Could be on Indeed or could be on your career site, wherever it is. You can even put the apply instructions in the actual video itself in terms of an email address or a web page URL. It's a free tool. It comes with some free templates you can use. And then I pay $10 a month, which is nothing, for all access to all the templates that they have. And it's a really great tool. The next one is Legend. It's called legend.im. And this turns any text into animation. You can put in up to 100 characters of text. Think of it like a visual tweet, if you will. It's a video tweet. Takes that text and then it animates it into about 12 different templates that they have. And it saves it as a little 5-second either GIF or video.
If you were to pick anything, those would be the two that you would kind of recommend that somebody spend their time on?
Those are the two I use the most. I have been using one called Typorama, which is basically an image-based tool where you upload a picture, or they have a bunch of pictures to choose from, and it creates little posters that you can then share on social media. For sale, we're hiring, all kinds of different uses for it.
All right, let's talk about where and how to post, because I think this is pretty important. You mentioned social media. Far too few companies utilize social media to get their job descriptions out there. I feel like they just invest in a tool like Indeed or one of the various job boards they post there, and they rely completely on that. Would you agree?
Yes.
So how else can they get exposure to people that would get them a more, a less polluted pond to fish in?
There's a couple of things you can do there. So one would be, there are some companies out there that are called job distribution players.
Which Indeed used to be the biggest one, right?
Right. Like any kind of ZipRecruiter is a bit like that as well. So a company called Recruitix, one's called Job Addicts, just to name a couple.
But basically it's just getting it out to all the other job boards, right?
Yeah, what they do is they basically take your job and they team up with hundreds of job boards, including all the top big ones, Indeed, CareerBuilder,
sure,
ZipRecruiter, all those guys. And they'll push your job out for you on a cost per click basis. That's an efficient way of advertising one job to many audiences at once overall.
What about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is a great tool as well. It's also listed as part of on some of these, these distribution outlets as well.
Is it worth the investment?
It depends on the job. I would go in there, post a job for a plumber, for example.
If you're doing blue collar people, probably not the best place to post.
Right. You definitely want to avoid that.
Sure.
Still see a lot of that on LinkedIn. The wrong types of jobs being shared there. That audience is not spending their day on LinkedIn overall. So you're better off going onto like a Facebook job board, which is free, and everybody who has a Facebook business page has access to that. If you have entry-level roles, blue collar, maybe lower-level healthcare roles, the customer service is very good for Facebook's job board itself, which is located in the marketplace. You can also find it at facebook.com/jobs. And when you post something on your business page, there'll be an option there for jobs.
So you're really recommending taking kind of an omni-channel approach to hitting everything.
Yeah, things like Google for Jobs is out there now, which is free as well. So definitely, you got to take advantage of all the free avenues, Google, Facebook, social media, that you can. Even like Indeed has free listings now for most companies. They're all touting kind of free avenues to get in the door there, and then they try and get you to sponsor your ads later on. So there are lots of free ways out there to drive traffic to your listings overall.
How's something like AngelList?
AngelList is great for tech stuff, startup stuff. You can find people on there as well in terms of kind of a profile database. Great tool as well.
I worked with one of my clients on a project, and they had a couple they posted on AngelList, and I found that we didn't get bombarded by a lot of people, and the quality of people were pretty strong.
And you'll find that things like Google for Jobs has really good quality traffic itself. I'm seeing some stats from some employers where that even though they're not getting a ton of traffic at Google for Jobs, the quality of that traffic is applying more and getting hired more too at the companies.
I still believe, and I'm still a huge proponent of working through your networks first and making sure that you get referrals. Referral-based hires are usually the strongest ones, so that should be where most of the time be spent, especially if you're a startup.
Still the number one way for hiring out there in terms of the sources is referrals overall, so definitely agree there.
So basically, we're being resourceful. Text, email, creative pictures, anything that would be helpful from that around?
Yeah, I think when it comes to contacting talent out there, there's a kind of a creativity to that as well. One thing I used to do when I was a recruiter was if I saw a candidate I wanted to talk to, maybe on LinkedIn or some other platform that I found him on, I would basically I'd go into the conference room, write his name on the whiteboard, and I'd take a picture of myself pointing to his name and saying, hey, and I would send him that picture to get his attention. And it worked pretty well.
That is super creative. Well done. I like that. All right, you guys everybody can use that, right?
Of course.
Take a picture of the guys there. All right. So what would be your key takeaways that you'd want somebody to leave with this conversation with?
So, experiment, be creative if you want to stand out. Your job postings, things for your job postings as landing pages. You need to tell a story. You need to grab your attention. Again, write for the web, make it glanceable, quick content. Be personable when you're, contacting people overall. Get creative a little bit. Most importantly, Rick, just be human. The candidates want to know what we like working at your company. And so I think any business owner should just be willing to be authentic around that, be transparent, give them a peek inside the organization, just be human overall. That's the the most important thing to take away, I think.
You say be human, and the funny thing is that nobody cares what you have to say until they know that you care.
True.
All right, we're just about out of time for today's show. Chris, thanks for your time investment today, and I want to welcome you to the Higher Power Radio community. Now, what would be the best way for members of our community to find out more about you or reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Chris Russell and rectechmedia.com, RecTech media.com.
Perfect. All right, I want to thank our listening audience for tuning into this week's episode of Higher Power. A quick thanks to our team, our engineer, Paul Roberts, our producers, Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and Ayla Gerard. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, review, and share. We need your feedback to up our game and bring more highly valuable content to you. Join the Higher Power Radio community at Higher, that's H-I-R-E, Power, P-O-W-E-R, radio, R-A-D-I-O.com. Or you can check us out on iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. I'm building my Twitter rankings at Rick_Gerard. Tune in next week. Our guest is going to be Ryan Foland. Ryan is the managing partner of The Influence Tree and host of the 313 show. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Gerard on OC Talk Radio.